Hello, class. This is your quiz to review covering chapters 6, 8, 9, and 10. The study of the connections between our bodies and the foods we eat describes nutrition. Nutrients required in the greatest amounts, meaning water, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, are called macronutrients. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals required in the smallest amounts by the body. Leaves, stems, skins, seeds, and hulls are non-digestible forms of complex carbohydrates known as dietary fiber. Salmon is a great example of omega blank. However, for omega-6, a carton of eggs would be appropriate. That is omega-3. These substances are essential for utilizing carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, which regulate growth, maintain tissue, and release energy from foods. Those are vitamins. Minerals are substances that help to strengthen bones and teeth. A diet limited to dairy, grains, fruits, and vegetables is defined as lacto-vegetarian. Vegans eat only plant foods and take vitamin B supplements to replace animal products. These vitamins act like the military, eliminating free radicals caused by oxidation. Those are antioxidants. Vegetarian diets, although a healthy alternative, may be missing essential nutrients. The nutrient that we're talking about is protein. A condition in which the bones become increasingly soft and porous, making them susceptible to injury, is osteoporosis. Postmenopausal women are at risk, as well as anyone over 65, those with a thin body frame, a family history of osteoporosis, those who are smokers, alcoholics, consume low calcium or small amounts of vitamin D, and people who are taking long-term corticosteroids. This type of stretching can be harmful, whereas passive stretching is a gentle method for moving the joints through their range of motion. This is ballistic stretching. In a long-term fitness plan, in the first 4 to 6 weeks, it's advisable to limit workouts to low-intensity exercises and work towards a routine that one can maintain for a lifetime. However, if your goal is to tone and build muscle, gradually increase duration and intensify your workouts to blank intensity for the next 4 to 5 months or until you reach your goal. We're talking about moderate intensity exercise. This health condition primarily affects male bodybuilders. They tend to maintain rigid workouts and diet regimens. Those are those with body dysmorphia. A longer life, a slower resting heart rate and pulse, an increase in flexibility, and a faster metabolism are all blank of exercise. Those are benefits. A wall sit, plank, low squat, glute bridge, and V-sit are examples of what type of exercise. Another example would be pushing against a wall. Isotonic exercises are weightlifting or calisthenics. So the first type of exercise we're talking about is isometric. Okay. The ability of a muscle to sustain repeated contractions or perform a continuous activity over an extended period without fatiguing. And examples of that would be aerobics, climbing stairs, or carrying groceries, is described as muscular endurance. Muscular strength is the maximum weight one can lift, push, or press in one effort. The range of motion allowed by one's joints is referred to as flexibility. One's range of motion can vary over one's lifetime. The behaviors, instincts, and attitudes associated with being sexual describes sexuality. The expression of masculine and feminine traits in one individual describes androgyny. The term androgyny also describes visual or stylistic blending of gender cues such as clothing, hair, voice, or mannerisms that don't align with traditional binary norms. A small erectile structure on the female corresponding to the penis on the male describes the clitoris. As you can see here in the illustration, the clitoris sits below the labia minora and majora, and it is filled with nerve endings, as many nerve endings that is on the head of a male penis, and its only known function is pleasure. The female sex organs that produce egg cells, estrogen, and progesterone is the ovaries. The male sex organ that produces sperm and testosterone is the testes. The portion of the male duct system in which immature sperm cells mature is called the epididymis. You can see this is an illustration of the testes, and you can see the appendix epididymis here, but not the full structure. Okay. Having a gender identity that differs from one's biological sex describes transgender. The onset of menstruation at puberty for a female is described as menarche. The age range for a female's menarche ranges from age 8 to 18. This process has 3 stages: labor, which has also pre-labor, which are marked by Braxton Hicks contractions. Labor itself is broken down into effacement, the thinning of the cervix, dilation, opening of the cervix. It must open 10 centimeters in order for birth to occur. And so the delivery of the baby, of course, is the main part of labor. And then the delivery of the placenta is also called expulsion. Okay. And that, of course, all describes childbirth. The initial stage of development for a multicellular organism is referred to as an embryo. A type of emergency contraceptive pill is usually taken within 72 hours after unprotected intercourse. It can prevent unintended pregnancy following unprotected intercourse or the failure of another method of contraception, such as a condom breaking or slipping off. Emergency contraception. Emergency contraception reduces pregnancy risk by 89% if taken within 5 days of unprotected sex. A surgical sterilization procedure in which each vas deferens is cut and tied shut to stop the passage of sperm to the urethra for ejaculation. And we're talking about vasectomy. This behavior involves withdrawing or pulling out the penis prior to ejaculation, so semen is released away from the vulva and the vaginal opening. That is coitus interruptus. Coitus interruptus is not a reliable method for preventing untimed pregnancy. A device inserted into the uterus through the cervix to prevent pregnancy by interfering with implantation, that is intrauterine device. Getting tongue-tied here. The fertilized egg, called the zygote, travels down the fallopian tubes, dividing to form a tiny ball of cells called a blastocyst. About a week after the blastocyst has been fertilized, it will implant in the lining of the uterus where it will grow into a fetus. A pregnancy in which the fertilized egg implants outside the uterine cavity, usually in the fallopian tubes, that is an ectopic pregnancy. A latex or polyurethane sheath worn over the penis during sexual acts to prevent conception and the transmission of disease. The female version lines the walls of the vagina, and we're talking, of course, about condoms. Okay, now we're going to wrap up with some film-related questions. Your mental health in college can be accessed through Canvas, as well as American Circumcision. Okay? There's also one film that I asked for you to watch on Netflix, and that film is Sex Explained. It's episode 2, and the focus is attraction. Okay? That will make up your quiz 2. It is 34 questions, all of which are multiple choice. The film-related questions have a higher value than the text-related questions. So I wish you all luck, and I will be talking to you online very soon.